Welcome, everybody. Thank you for your time and for joining today. The topic is that we would like to look at the Embedded Academy e-learning portfolio, what's new. And you just saw the video with a short look back in the past. So we started 4 years ago. 3 years ago, we launched our first web shop in March. We launched the reworked web shop where we are still in the final activities. So there will be some features and some other things new also on the web shop side. And today we are going to look on what we released since end of March. So we're looking back for the last 2 months. This is a new format informing all of our connected friends who have interest and all of our customers what's new and also what we are planning. And we are going to repeat this information about every 2 to 3 months. Now we have the summer holidays, will be maybe a month break, so it might be end of August, beginning of September for the next time. And today we'll have a look at the website and also to have a sneak peek into some of the content which is new. Okay, so let's have a look at the website. You might know the entry website with content. We always are featuring the latest courses which we did new or where we produced new content. Sometimes we enhance existing courses or we do a rework if there are new standards or new knowledge what we should put inside. And you always see on the web page also there's this news button. And if you go on this news button page, you see in the timeline, the oldest stuff is below and the latest releases you see on top, all the new content which has been released. So I'm just scrolling down to end of March. So yeah, maybe we start there. We released quite a lot of new glossary units. So we have the portfolio on e-learning and e-learning courses, which our customers need to sign in and also to pay for the glossary units as well as the abbreviation list. This content is for free. In the area of glossary unit, we more or less doubled the content in this year. So we've been doing quite a lot in terms of glossary units. This is, this was some special work which was done, and we are proud of having a quite big selection of glossary units right now. We released, for example, clock signal. In this case, I'm not going into everything. You can have a look yourself. I will show you also after this the page where you can find the glossary units and also where you can find the abbreviation list. So we did 1 unit on clock signal. We did 1 unit on access code. Then we released our completely new course on information security, which is which has 3 e-learnings. So the course is composed of 3 e-learnings, and we'll have a closer look later on. We have glossary unit on bitrate, baud rate, substitute bitrate and baud rate you need for communication protocols, bus systems. We have substitution, permutation, and XOR. These content you usually need for encryption, where we have also an e-learning which is available since more than 2 years on cryptography, and these glossary units are connected to this. XOR you also need for bus systems. We introduced a completely new course on serial bus systems, which is composed of 5 e-learning units. Yeah, and with the dates, it's sometimes a full course, or we are informing about now this new e-learning has been released. We have a glossary unit on real time, which we did in April, a glossary unit on duplex data transmission, simplex. Then for serial bus system, we released the next e-learning on data link layer. We did a glossary unit on latency and on clock skew, which is quite new right now. And there I would say, okay, we just have a sneak peek into this clock skew glossary unit. So here you can open or close. So I will make it smaller so that you have a better look here.
The following glossary unit deals with the term clock skew. A clock skew occurs in synchronous circuits and data transmissions. Click further to learn more. The clock skew occurs when the clock signal arrives at the affected component's offset. In the best case, the clock skew is 0. However, this is not physically feasible. The clock skew can be in the range of nanoseconds or picoseconds, for example. It can have positive or negative values. The higher the clock rate, the less clock skew can be tolerated. Possible reasons for clock skew can be, for example, temperature fluctuations, material defects, length of the lines or different input capacities of the components involved.
So this is an example for one glossary unit. Overall, we now have 27 glossary units available, which you find on the web page at the follow location. So either you can start with like the front page. On the front page, we have this information on the new courses and then the links to the e-learning portfolio, and then the link to the glossary, and also the link to the list of abbreviations, which we are maintaining as well. You can also enter this information here via glossary list of abbreviations via the e-learning menu. Yeah. So here you get the overview on all the glossary units. So the first 2 are on AUTOSAR, are XML file and the AUTOSAR domains. Then we have quite a lot where it's connected to data transmission for bus systems, for example, baud rate, bit rate, clock signal, clock skew. Then we have like a general topic converting decimal to binary, duplex, access code, function and inverse function, Gantt chart, latency, maturity models, modulo calculation, group of integers, data nibble, which is a term which is not necessarily known by everybody, normalized and denormalized numbers, permutation, power line communication, pulse width modulation, real time, Scrum, simplex, automotive standard substitution and XOR. This is the current list of glossary units which we are providing, and we are going to enlarge this portfolio step by step. For the list of abbreviations, these are abbreviations which are used within the e-learnings, and here you can see the different e-learnings, and then you can choose, or you can have a full list. Yeah, so it's all the abbreviations, and then you have an explanation going with this abbreviation. Yeah. And usually it's necessary, like with CRC, cyclic redundancy check, or I don't know, the denial of service attack, or DTC. In this case, it's direct talk control. ECU, electronic tone unit. There are many abbreviations which are commonly used, and not everybody might know. So in this context, the abbreviations which we've been using within the e-learnings, all of them are explained here. So this was for glossary and abbreviation. Have a look again at the news part. Yeah. So you see all these glossary units, we are informing about this too. We released, or we had one person working full-time on generating glossary units out of parts, explanations we did. This is the reason why we've been releasing so many. But overall, usually in the past, it was more e-learning units which have been released and less the glossary units. So if you look at this, you have here automotive BIS systems, you have something on ASPICE, embedded software basics, electrical machines, NVH. So in the past, we worked on more the e-learnings, and we are going back to this operating mode again. And then maybe we'll have, before we have a sneak peek into the different new e-learnings which we released, to have a look at the overall portfolio, so that you know where we have been working on and where we are currently working on. So automotive bus systems, there are new buses which are planned, but there are other bus systems, general ones, which we are doing beforehand. So this will take some while until we add content here. Automotive cybersecurity is just short, but for people who will come to a training, we will offer soon also a cybersecurity training as on-site training. On automotive SPICE, we are currently working on the process for release, which will be new, and then next ones is planned to enhance the management group. So we are currently working on ASPICE. For AUTOSAR and introduction into serial bus systems, we will add, which we will see also now, a full course on CRC calculation. All the e-mobility stuff is very, very well done and has a high level of completeness. So currently this is a stable area, starting from electronics via e-mobility, electrified powertrain, and so on. So for now, we are done there. Information security, we'll have a look on this today, with some sneak peek into the details. For now, this is complete, but we will work in this direction in terms of risk management in the future, but this will be in autumn. Introduction to serial bus systems is now complete, and there we will add CRC and we'll add bus systems concrete bus systems, different types. And this is already planned for a longer period of time to be done step by step within our roadmap. We are currently also working on enhancement of measurement technology using strain gauges here within the basic course, and we also did already the concepts for an enhanced course. So this is like the portfolio we have now, but we are continuously working on increasing the portfolio. Now the completely new courses which we released is on the one hand information security, which contains 3 e-learnings. So each course has different e-learnings it's composed of, and this one has like a general introduction into the topic, like the goals and what's the extent of information security, what belongs to it, and then to get into the practical part, to look at the threats, the hazards, the practical implementation of information security. And then there's an additional e-learning on the endangerments, and it also has a look into safety testing, what can be done there. Here you see, you might already know like the pages, how they are structured. So you have like a description of a course, you have a target, you usually have a trailer, which you can also find all the trailers on YouTube within one playlist. And then you have some inside pictures where you can have a look on how the pages look like, what the content is. And then we have a course content itself. I already opened the course content. So it's the first one is introduction into information security. And here you have a full course. And here again, if you open the full course, you have the content of the different e-learnings structured, so you can have a look at everything. It's possible to make this smaller or bigger again, depending on what's the size of your picture. And now we have a short sneak peek into some of the making of this e-learning. For example, here with the goals, you have what does information security mean, what are the goals, and how do the goals relate. So I will just play the first part. What does information security mean?
What does information security actually mean? Information security means protecting information, whether you write it down on paper or store it on your computer. Click on the attention symbol at the bottom right to learn the difference between information security and IT security.
Now we also heard about this symbol. It's this attention symbol. We have overall 5 symbols, and when I'm showing more and more content, we'll also come across some of the other symbols.
IT security deals purely with electronic information. Information security, on the other hand, deals with any kind of information.
And this information is important to say. Information security is covering everything, and IT security is just electronic information. Yeah, and we will continue to work on further content, but some of the aspects for IT security we already have implemented with our cryptography training, which deals with more or less all the encryption methods which are commonly used right now. So this is the first part, introduction into information security. The second part is practical realization of information security. And there I picked the part on hazards here. and just play this part on hazards so that you get an impression here as well.
Vulnerabilities provide a path for threats to evolve into hazards. If a vulnerability is exploited, the threats become hazards. In information security, these can again be divided into two categories.
So this was just like a short introduction. Of course, there's more, yeah. And the third part is endangerments in information security with basics, functionality, and safety testing. So I opened this part, safety testing, and here's the menu of these different topics there. And I just picked now testing strategies, which we can have also a short look at.
An essential part of information security is the creation of appropriate test strategies to maintain security objectives. The following are 3 testing strategies chosen as examples. The first example is functional testing, where attention is paid to meeting functional security requirements. The second example is interface testing, where inputs and outputs are examined to ensure communication between an application server and database servers. An example of this would be the communication between Microsoft Word and Explorer when opening a file that has already been saved. And the third example is vulnerability scanning, where certain tools and software are used to detect known and unknown vulnerabilities so that appropriate security measures can then be taken.
So this was the overview on this information security e-learning course, which is composed of these 3 e-learnings, and which we now completed. And the second course I would like to inform you about is did I open it or not? There I have to go to the course, is the course on introduction to serial bus systems. Yeah. And there, as I said before, we are looking at everything you need as basic know-how to look at several serial bus systems. So we're explaining all the aspects which are needed in this context. And it's a course which is composed of altogether 5 e-learnings. It's in the beginning, we didn't expect it to grow that much, but now overall it's almost 3 hours of pure content. So this means that you need 1.5 to 2 days to really learn everything. The first e-learning is covering the basic terms, like what's a bus, what are typical applications, what is real-time, what is serial or parallel transmission, then the transmission path, simplex, duplex, the basic terms like bitrate, baud rate, clock signal, which communication models, latency, the payload, the control data, and then also the protocol, how is it structured, what are the principles behind the protocol stack, and the system components, which can be used like a router, gateway, switch, repeater, so that you have the basic terms explained and can use it to understand the further content. For bus system or for data transfer, the knowledge of the OSI model is essential. So it's like the motivation, the mode of operation, and the basic model structure, which we are explaining. Then the transport-oriented layers and the application-oriented layers. So the layers are explained roughly, and then we go into more details on the layer, like the physical layer, the different types of transmission media, the basic structure, examples for connectors. We cannot cover everything, but examples there. Then the binary representation. Important is, for example, endianness, bit significance, and different codings, like Manchester coding, for example. And then the basic terms of a data link layer. So you have a communication process. Is it synchronous, asynchronous, serial communication, the routing schemes, different types of topologies, possibilities to secure data transmission, like, for example, parity bit or CRC checksum, which will be in detail below, different access control methods, and like the CRC checksum is used a lot in bus protocols, also for memory, but then we explain the CRC basic with a very simple example to show like the principle behind, so that you have a full set of terms and topic to understand bus systems. So this was the overview, and then now we'll have a sneak peek into some of the content. Yeah. For example, here you see again the structure, and I chose from basic terms transmission path. I opened this window and said, okay, now we have a look at communication models. Just to
There are two basic concepts for the flow of communication in a bus system. Click on the two rectangles to learn more about them.
So this is the interaction symbol, and then you need to click something.
A common concept is the client-server model. The programs that perform tasks are divided into clients and servers. A client is the active part. It requests services from the server. The server is passive and stands by to provide services when needed. The request is displayed to the server. It checks the rights of the client and then sends the answer. The client confirms the answer.
So in the second part,
the producer-consumer model works according to the broadcast and multicast method. This means that more or all recipients receive a message. The producer makes a request or sends a message. This message is then displayed to one or more consumers.
Okay, this was one of the examples for the basic terms, and it's called basic terms, and there are 45 minutes. You can guess that there's a lot of information and a lot of terms being explained in this first e-learning within the introduction to serial bus systems. The second e-learning is on the OSI model, and here I just opened within the overview. You see the overview, the topic of model structure, which we can have a look now also.
Model contains 7 layers that are connected vertically. They are numbered from bottom to top. Layer 1, Layer 2 and Layer 7 are mainly relevant for bus systems. Each layer has certain functions. These functions are made available for the layer above. The layers must all be passed through in sequence by both the sender and the receiver during communication. The transmitter packages and encrypts a message through the individual layers from top to bottom. The receiver unpacks and decrypts the message in reverse order. On each layer, there is one instance on the transmitter's side and one instance on the receiver side. The respective layers on the receiver and sender side must follow rules during data transmission. These rules are defined by protocols. In this model, the interfaces of each layer are clearly defined. This means that it is not a problem if the protocols of the layer change. They can be exchanged relatively easily.
Okay, now we had a look at the first 2 e-learnings. Then the next one is the basic terms for physical layer. And there I just had a look at the first part, the transmission medium, and within this, the twisted pair cable shielding, because this is, I like the making of, and usually in the book, this is quite boring.
Shielding provides additional protection against interfering electromagnetic fields from outside. There is a scheme that can be used to describe the shielding. First come abbreviations that describe the overall shield that is wrapped around all pairs of wires. After a slash, the shielding of the individual wire pairs is described. TP is the abbreviation for twisted pair. There are 3 letters for this, which stand for different types of shielding. U stands for unshielded. This means that the wires have no shielding. F stands for foiled. This means that the wires are shielded with aluminium foil. S stands for screened. The screen here consists of a wire braiding. Move the slider to see the 9 different possible combinations.
And this is really nice also with the interaction symbol, and then you can move the slider here. And then you have an overall sheet explanation, for example, this screened braiding, yeah, shielding, and then the next is foiled and so on. So we see how the shielding here is changing, yeah, by moving the slider. So this is like one example where you have like a more physical stuff, and it's really the physical layer. So it's this physical connection between 2 microcontrollers or 2 devices via some kind of a cable. Yeah, and the next e-learning is the data link layer. And here I chose, so basic terms, data link layer, which is one layer, one part of a OSI model. And here I chose from access control methods here below, yeah, the question and answers to what are access control methods.
Access procedures regulate which participant is allowed to access the bus and when. This means that they regulate who can send data and when. You can imagine this as in road traffic. Here, it is also regulated who is allowed to drive and when. This is done in the medium access control sublayer of the data link layer.
Okay, and the last one in this area is the CRC basic, also cyclic redundancy check. And there I just chose within the basics the definition. So we'll just have a short explanation on the definition of CRC.
CRC is a method for detecting errors in digital data. This method is used on the one hand for transmissions in networks. On the other hand also with the storage of data. The abbreviation CRC means cyclic redundancy check. Cyclic is in the name because the CRCs are based on so-called cyclic codes. Redundant means that the checksum itself does not contain any new information that is not already present in the actual data.
And this e-learning, as I said before, is really only containing the basic concepts of CRC and a very short example. But we are currently working on a full course which will explain CRC in the different aspects. If you have like predefined value, or you start with 0, the different polynomials and so on, and we'll have different examples. This is currently in concept phase, and we have a first content. So the first e-learning, because it will be a full course, might be released in July, and I guess we'll finish until end of August. So we are continuing to work in this area. I hope I gave you a very good insight in what we've been working on and what to expect on new content. And you should know that we really continue working on and producing content and interconnect it more and more. So it will be a constant growth of content and connection and interaction, which you will profit from. So from a presentation point of view, I'm done. If you have any questions, please let me know. There's the question on if there is a certificate. We have a certificate for each of the courses, and if you look on the web page, the courses are, for example, what we looked at, information security with these free e-learnings. It's a course. We have Introduction to Serial Bus Systems, which is a course. So I will have open the portfolio page to have a look at the portfolio. So for each of the courses which you find here, you will receive a certificate of completion once you did everything. You can download the certificate. And it's not, we have quiz questions, so you have to also complete the quiz, which I did not have a look at now. So you have to answer questions, but they're not that difficult. So if you go through and if you really learn, then it will be no problem to answer the questions. And then having done everything, you will receive your certificate. So anything else you would like to know? Yeah, I stretched the time anyway quite a lot. Thank you for staying with me that long, and thank you very much for your interest. And I hope you have a time and for example, browse through the different glossary unit and pass it on to some people you know who might benefit from this. And of course, we are also very happy to have some real subscribers to our e-learnings. The next update will be, as I said before, end of August or beginning of September, and I would be very happy to see you again. I wish you a very nice day. Thank you and bye-bye.